So, if everyone who wants to listen to second talk is here, let's start with Jakub Dusek, who will speak about live streaming of sports in Africa and what we did for that.
Thank you, Mirek. So, hello people. My name is Jakub Dusek. I'm a software engineer here at Showmax in the encoding team. I joined Showmax like four and something half years ago in 2019. I like pictures go brr, which means I like video. I like everything that includes like the video encoding and stuff. And I also like plants going brr as well. So here you can see my beautiful plant of red robin tomato. It's like 3 days old photo. I'm really proud of this year. So, what do we stream on Showmax? We have over 500 live channels that are available to us 24/7 basically, so the encoders are running non-stop. We provide standard event-based live streaming. That means you put a sport event on a platform that goes for like 1 or 2 hours, then it ends and you can move to something else. During the COVID pandemic, we introduced as well the news channels to provide a coverage for people that are stuck at home in South Africa. And surprisingly, there is a lot of audience for reality shows in Africa, namely in Nigeria, where one of my popular reality shows is still running. It's Big Brother Niger, which is basically a Nigerian version of Big Brother. It's really entertaining. I unironically enjoy the show. So how do we stream all of that? Showmax is part of Connected Video, which is a company that's basically includes Showmax and as well the DSTV. The DSTV is the most popular, one of the most popular satellite providers in Africa and the most popular in South Africa. That means that all the source streams that we are receiving are optimized for TV broadcast. That includes mainly the interlacing of the images, because we can then stream only 25 frames per second interlaced for the image to be somewhat smooth, unless it's not optimized for satellite broadcast. I will talk about it later. Through the Africa, we provide a coverage to our customers through 2 satellites. The first one is Eutelsat 36B that provides coverage mostly for Nigeria and West Africa. And the second one is Intelsat 20 that covers most of the South Africa and stuff like Mauritius and other small island nations. On the pictures on left, you can see the huge satellite dishes that we are utilizing for streaming the image to these satellites, so they can be provided to our customers from the command and control center on the other picture, where all the channels are managed and monitored through with our monitor guys. On the other hand, we have a satellite receiver. A lot of you, I believe, are familiar with satellite TV, and you know that the devices that are like on the other end for the users are not very well built, or they are not user friendly at all. This one is the latest satellite receiver from DSTV. It's called Explorer Ultra. We also support the older versions of these ones, like the Explorer 3B. These satellite receivers can actually play Showmax. The Explorer Ultra can play it even without the satellite, finally, which is something that was not standard. For the older models, you actually had to have the satellite signal constantly present to be able to use the internet connectivity. Without that, no internet applications were working. I don't know why. But the thing is that why am I telling you all of this about the satellite receivers and TVs when we are talking about Showmax, right? Well, the thing is that the source streams that we are pushing to the satellites and everything, Well, for Showmax, we kind of kidnapped them. We take the input to these satellites and we feed it to our beautiful on-premise AWS elementals. But the source streams, as I was talking, is interlaced. It's 25 frames per second interlaced, and we cannot show that to users because all of you ever seen interlaced, it's all the rainbows and colors, and you don't want to watch that. So we deinterlace that. And after we deinterlace that, we are stuck with the 25 frames per second, which is okay, and we can do that. A lot of sports can be watched that. Most of our sports, we are using this, and it's just fine. It's totally watchable. Here you can see the very simplified schema, how we are doing the encoding itself. From the Amazon elementals, we encode into our whole bitrate ladder, which spans from 144p up to Full HD, with one exception I will talk later. And from these elementals, we have like 40 of them, something like that. We then feed the video output to live USP, which stands for New Unified Streaming Platform. This is for the origin, and we are providing the respective playlists for the devices, MPEG Dash, HTTP live streaming, and smooth streaming. Everything from these encoders are encoded in H.264. It's DRM protected for obvious reasons. In our content management system, for our providers, we provide a tool that allows them to set a different output protection for different providers, different streams, which is often required for example, higher resolution when you need a hardware DRM support and some kind of output protection on the HDCP level, which brings together a very challenging device support, so to say, because the best case scenario is that the stream and the video will not be working right. That's the best outcome of this when it's not working. The worst that can happen is that it will work somehow and then just suddenly stops working, and the user is very angry. For these live streams, we also provide server-side ad insertion, so we can during the breaks of, for example, in live sport matches, we can provide advertisement. DRM setup, very basic, very usual. For MPEG Dash, we are using the combination of Widevine and a PlayReady, based on the devices, because some supports PlayReady, some supports Widevine. That goes mainly for the Android and Chrome-based browsers. On your desktop, that's Widevine. For the PlayReady, it's the newer models of Samsungs and some Hisenses, basically smart TVs, mostly. HTTP live streaming and FairPlay is exclusive to Apple. At least we use it exclusively to Apple. We know that you can use the HTTP live streaming for other DRMs as well. We are just not doing that because this works. And for some older models, we still support the smooth streaming with just plain PlayReady. That goes for the very old Hisenses. I love these devices. Xbox 360 and PlayStation 4. On these devices, we are actually not using the smart TV application developed here, but it's a different application we are using there. It's a legacy, but we still have to support them. You add a new feature, and this new feature it still has to work. NLG, yes, and Samsung as well. So I was talking right now up to Full HD, right? You remember that small asterisk? Maybe someone in there that the progressive something about the interlacing on the first or second slideshot, right? Well, with 4K that changes, because last year we had the opportunity to dip our toes into 4K, because something happened last year. It's major sport event. You maybe heard about it. It was FIFA in Qatar. And we were offered an opportunity to stream this in 4K to our customers, and they really wanted it. So we totally did that. The source that we were provided was finally progressive, so no deinterlacing was needed. We were able to introduce not only 4K but also 2K in 50 FPS, and it was really something totally different from the interlaced source that we had. We decided that we will provide this 4K only to lean back experience, because for us it didn't make really sense to provide it on phones, because who watches 4K streams on phones? At least not in Africa. The lean back means that it's in basically your living room when you can lean back and watch the TV. The source and the streams that we were able to provide was up to 12 megabits per second in 4K. We used H.265. With 4K, we also had the opportunity to explore different technologies that came with 4K. And that was HDR, or high dynamic range streaming in the image. However, we had very limited time and experience with this, and we were not really confident enough to provide this and test this with our users, because you have a different formats, that different device support, for example, HDR10, 10 plus or Dolby Vision. For us, it was simply too much, and we've decided that we will ditch that for now, and we will just provide plain SDR for everyone, because we know that that works. With 4K, it comes also another thing, because as I said before, we encode everything into H.264. But H.264 doesn't really work with resolutions above Full HD. So we've decided that we will, for the resolutions about Full HD, we will provide only the H.265 or high efficient video coding codec for that. We also needed a slightly updated bitrate ladder for that. So we've decided on 8 megabits per second for 2K and 12 megabits per second in 4K, which is like up to 12 megabits per second. However, the formula how we've decided on these numbers it's shown here. It's basically the rule of 3/4 that we used. With this and with the challenging device support, I will talk about that a lot. We were like in a position that we can provide the 4K streams by default to everyone, but we didn't really want to do that because a lot of devices actually they will have the nice sticker that they can support 4K, and they will not unless you switch that option in a settings, and up until then it will not work. For that, we actually provided for a user option to manually turn off the 4K stream. It was a little button. When the 4K was available, it showed that you can switch it to 4K. You switch to the 4K. Otherwise, you still watch the old workflow with the full HD as a maximum quality that you can watch. We wanted really this experience of the 4K to provide it basically everywhere in Africa. Well, everywhere, but everywhere mostly as everywhere as possible, because we are using for the live streaming and sports, and for the 4K we are using live CDN from Akamai, which means that we are basically available at the closest location where the Akamai edges are hosted. You need basically a data center of Akamai to your location. For example, there was an edge for South Africa. There is an edge in South Africa for Akamai, but there is no edge in Nigeria. So a lot of streams can actually be hosted from Europe, because Europe is closer to Nigeria than it is to South Africa. Which that closer doesn't usually mean that it's close all the time. So with the traffic, in the first place, during the FIFA and during the finals, it's South Africa, the largest market, around 800 gigabits per second in a peak. But surprisingly, on the second place is small country of island nation of Mauritius. which turns out that in Mauritius there is an Akamai edge. On that small island there is an Akamai edge, and it's the second place in traffic with around 150 gigabits per second in a peak, where a lot of South Africans are living and they want to watch the football in the best quality they can. In the end, up to like 4% of the customers actually watch the 4K during the final match, and that's can be connected to the thing that 4K was not for everyone. Even though that we provided the 4K, even though that the users switched to the 4K and they were actually watching the 4K stream, they were not all the time able to watch it in the full 4K. Either because of, again, challenging device support, or it was a connectivity issue when there was just not enough internet for everyone to watch it in 4K. Here you can see roughly the ratio of few matches where the top portion is the people who still had like turned the 4K on, but were not actually reaching the 4K. But in the end, was it all worth it? It was a lot of work, and we actually got a quite media coverage down there in South Africa. And back then, we actually got a lot of positive feedback from all the users on Twitter. We learned a lot, and we had opportunity to check on a new technology that we never had before. So, from my point of view, yeah, it was totally worth it. From point of a lot of users, it was totally worth it. I was quite happy actually with the outcome in the end, which is like, you know, the end of my talk. Thank for your attention.
So, who wants to ask? Someone? Anyone?
I hate to be the guy that always has a question, but I noticed you're using AWS for the encoding and Akamai for the CDN. Can you describe the whole stack? Like all the services there are between the source stream and...
To avoid any misunderstanding, the elementals are the product that has been acquired by Amazon, but the elementals are on site in South African data centers. There is a separate AWS stack for the application APIs and recommendations and everything. And if you really want to go into that, I'm not sure if Jakub is the right person who wants to talk about it.
I don't. But yeah, the AWS elementals, we had them on a premise. We have 2 locations in South Africa where we host roughly something like 40 hardware encoders physically in our data centers. So we have to take care of them.
Okay, so it all runs on-premise and you just push those streams to Akamai and...
The encoding runs on-premise, yes.
Okay.
Can we talk about the stack a bit? There are the encoders, then there are the USPs, which basically perform all the packaging and DRMing of the data, so that as the input you have the live streams, and at the output of USPs you have all the chunks for smooth streaming, for HLS, and so on and so forth. And then there is another layer that protects those USPs from Akamai suddenly doing bad things. And we have seen bad things when Akamai decided to route South African traffic for South African users that were fetching the content from South African CDN, and the content was produced in South Africa via London and Singapore. And sometimes it happened like once that the traffic towards the USPs would have ramped up by like 5 times. And this extra layer that's sitting in between the USPs and Akamai, it's running varnish cache, and it kind of saved us from overloading the USPs. And there's nothing else in between. There are just the customers talking to Akamai. Sorry. Anyone else, Radko?
Why did you choose high efficiency video codec for 4K? And did you consider some other options like VP9 or other video codecs? And what about the costs of licensing?
So we chose the H265 or high efficiency video coding because we already had it in our stack. Like we are using it for VOD. In history, we had VP9, but we ditched that because no one basically used that. Only few users on Androids. But for us, it didn't really make sense to introduce a new codec just for 4K when we know that with the H265 it will work.
Just to add, like VP9 was there, we were using it, and there was like check, like it was in production, and in parallel there was H264, there was HEVC and VP9, and in the end we found that all the clients who are supporting VP9 are also supporting HEVC, and it doesn't work vice versa. So by reducing the VP9 and like getting rid of it, we improved cache hit ratio on the CDN, and we basically improved the cache efficiency. CDN guy speaking.
And also it's faster to encode into H265 than it's to VP9 or AV1.
AV1 is different story.
Yeah, the Elementals doesn't support VP9.
For anything live, we're really dependent on the on-prem elementals. So if it's supported, we can do it. But it's sort of a bargain between how sort of density of channels per in that cluster. Because we're running lots of channels in AVC, it's very efficient, you can push a lot of it, you got some internal cluster redundancy. But as soon as you introduce HEVC, you suddenly have a lot less density because it's much more GPU intensive really. Once you go into 4K, again, you suddenly need a lot more on-prem hardware to encode in that. VP9 unsupported. AV1 in the latest versions it is, but again, your density in the hardware is very low. So we're looking at it from perspective, how many streams can we actually, like we have to push out the 500 live channels because they're for our sort of sister service DSTV. And we also need to make sure that we can push out live stuff for Showmax if we have something special. The benefits of VP9, very small. Efficiency, worse than HEVC. HEVC more uniformly supported. And the sort of licensing fees are actually built into the fact that you have that hardware. On the client side, it's paid by Apple, Google, whoever implements the decoder on that side. The AV1, very nice. But you would have to run it in software. Unsupported by the generation of live encoders that we have. And there's a codec SVT AV1, so sort of Intel Netflix collaboration to create actually on some hardware it is real-time codec that you can push stuff out, and your latest TVs would support it. But if we think about the sort of African context that we live in, our TVs are on average 5 to 7 years old. They don't support AV1, but they do support HEVC, and they still might be 4K. So it's many factors that we try to put into the decisioning, whether we do it, whether it's cost efficient for us, CDN, et cetera, et cetera. So it would be cool to have AV1 just for fun, but we would have very small client base to do it. And it would cost us dearly on sort of engineering time to implement it.
And this guy asked me, what should I speak about when I would have talked? Yeah.
Hi, thank you for the talk. I was just curious about the percentages that you were mentioning. So if I remember correctly, you said that 4% of the audience had that 4K option turned on?
Up to 4% of the audience watched 4K watch the final matches in 4K.
Successfully, or because then you had the other statistics
Successfully or not successfully.
Okay,
These data were for they had the option turned on, and they wouldn't be,
Okay.
they could or could not reach it. They, as I showed this ratio chart.
Yes.
The people who were not able to reach the 4K doesn't mean that they were not able to reach, for example, 2K. So they could be actually totally watching that, but we were not monitoring that back then.
Okay, and was the option on by default?
No.
No. So they had to actively choose it. And
Yeah.
sorry,
Yes.
and just one more question. So this 4%, that's just out of the people who were leaning back, or everyone? Because you said that you were providing it only for.
Yes, for the
Lean back.
lean back experience.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Or on YouTube? In comments? Andy? Or anyone else? Okay, is there anyone who wants to have a lightning talk, like for 15 minutes about anything? Okay, so give me a laptop. I will have one.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. So, just like quick, it's not a talk, like just a lightning. So, have you ever anyone heard about SVTA, Streaming Video Technical Alliance or Technology Alliance? That's actually pretty good. Like it's better than most of the people in Czech. Like what is it? It is an alliance of a lot of companies who are streaming, who are the content producers, who are the CDNs, or who are the technologies around. And basically, it is alliance where are working groups who are trying to not establish new standards, but establish or write documents about what are the best practices. There is a lot of webinars available for the members and for whoever wants to speak or be in the work groups, he can. There is obviously like need to be a member. There isn't a fee, there is a sponsorship. So, like, if you or your company wants to join the club, and we recently joined because we were acquired, yeah, this is us now. So, like, we've got the access there, and the reason why you should consider it now or this year is that actually in November there is always some meetup and event every quarter. A lot of times it is in different continents, but this year, in November, it will be in Prague. So if you will become a member, you have a chance to really be in touch with not only Sky, but also Disney, HBO, or the big CDNs, like all of them. And all the encoders, like the companies who are developing encoders and stuff around. The list of companies who are participating is extreme. And it's nice. It's nice to be there, and I think it's worth it to at least ask them what might be the sponsorship they are expecting, and to try to get there. Because the more people from Czech will be there, the better will even these talks be. Yeah, that's it. So, I guess there is no question for that, right?
What's the sponsorship?
I know, but I cannot tell you. To you I can, but not for the others. Are we going to present something on that event or be there? It's being negotiated. But like definitely like Comcast, Sky, NBC Universal, which is us now, is a member. It's a long name, I know, but yeah, that's us. And we are being actually pushed and forced. Like when it's going to be in Prague, we should be there and show the presence. It's like our job, you know.
Mirek talked about quite a few, dropping some names and maybe a little continuation. Just lightning. What the hell happened with Showmax? So Showmax is a brand. It's a product in Africa, and there's a company called MultiChoice in Africa that owns that brand, and they've decided that they want to enter a partnership with NBC Universal that owns a platform that also is used to run Peacock. And that's going to be the new platform going forward for Showmax as a product in Africa. So this team that built the original platform is transitioning to be part of the engineering sort of technology organization that's product engineering project and everything in the sort of Peacock universe. And that's how we're slowly being transitioned from being a multi-choice company into actually being a Sky/NBCU/Comcast company and delivering the same proposition or service on a completely different stack, different technologies. It's a very complicated, big journey for everybody in this room. Thank you very much for sticking with us and being so supportive. But really, it's sort of the next step of the journey, and the Showmax journey has been quite crazy from the days before my time in this company, and the sort of Arab times, then over to the Polish times, then back to Africa times, and like over and over and over again. So if you see us talking about Sky or Comcast, it's sort of the next chapter of things, but it's still the same team here in Prague working on making sure that we stream in Africa, but this time also in the US and here in Czech Republic. When you use Sky Showtime, you're paying our salaries now. So thank you for that. So just a quick explainer.
So if there aren't any questions for my lightning talk, thank you very much that you come here. Our office, enjoy our beer, enjoy the hot dogs. I believe you will still do some, and of course. So see you next time. Like watch us on the socials, Showmax Engineering. So there will be like next meetups. I'm now trying to remember if I forgot something. That's it. If you have any questions, try or to Andy or to Spidi. Yeah, thank you.